Greetings, almost wonderful people. How is everyone doing today?
Great.
Great.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I like to tell people what I'm going to do, then I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to tell you what I did. So first of all, let me introduce myself. Again, name's David Lewis, and I like to tell people I never go into long introductions about things that I've done because frankly, who cares? What it boils down to is, what am I going to do for you today in this space that we have together? And what I am going to do, like Courtenay did so professionally, I am going to shamelessly plug my virtual support group for dads. But before I do so, let me tell you why I do this and why this means so much to me. Years ago, and I don't know why, at some point I realized that being a father or a mother was probably one of the most important jobs that you'll ever have. And let me be perfectly clear. It doesn't mean that these have to be your biological children. I don't care who they are. If you're a parent to anyone, raising someone, taking them from point A to point B is such an instrumental obligation and responsibility. So to that end, when Dorothy called me and said, hey, I think you'd be kind of a decent person to do this, I said, well, let me look at it. And that's how it started. So I didn't start the group. The group's been around for a couple of years, but I have just started being the facilitator for this group in March of 2022. So what is it? It's a virtual support group. We meet on every Thursday evening, and the only qualification that you have to have is that you're a father. Now, one of the things that came up earlier, I was talking to some group, and a lady said, well, I'm a single mom and I'm playing the role of a father. Can I come? And I said, look, I am not going to split hairs. If you want to come join the group. However, let me be clear, you will hear some things in this group from the perspective of men that I am not going to ever apologize for. And let me tell you why. Men, we communicate at a very different level. And for those who know, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, we know that men are just different. We are. And half of our issues, it's not acknowledging that difference. So when we come together on Thursdays, guys just come and they just put it out there. And I got a giggle because I've heard some things in these meetings that just, it blows me away, not in a negative way. It's just, you think you know what you know, and then you hear it from other guys, and it's like, wow, do we really think like that? And the reality of it is we do. We don't know what we don't know. So we come together in this group, and iron sharpens iron, and it's been really cool. It's been really cool. So that's my plug for the Dads Uplifting Dads. We meet Thursday evenings, 5:30 to 6:30. So we go for an hour, and we try to keep it at an hour so we don't belabor people's time, and we have a respect for people's time. Now, before I go, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you a brief overview, and I'm going to say brief because I'm going to set my timer, because I've been accused once or twice in my life of being loquacious. So, that's one of those 50-cent words where a nickel could have done it. I can talk too much. So I'm going to put my timer on, and I am going to, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the 7 habits of highly effective people. That's kind of like unofficial blueprint for a lot of the things we've been doing. Now, before I go into this, you got to have a paradigm shift. I'm giving you a presentation that it's pretty much a snippet of a presentation of what we do or how we think in 7 habits. But I want you to apply this to yourself, because this applies to every last one of us. And let me tell you, the principles of 7 habits are life-changing and they're truth. And I can speak to this. We did this presentation a few weeks ago in my group. We went over some of the habits, and in the last few weeks, my world has totally changed again and again and again, because as I go over this, I try to live it, and I say try. I try to live it, and I try to be conscious of each habit. And as I am conscious of each habit, it changes my life. And I love what Courtenay did as she accepted the vice president role a few minutes ago. I don't even know her. I've never met her, but here's what struck me about her. She was vulnerable and saying from the get-go, I'm going to try to do this. I may not be perfect, but I'm asking for grace. I think I paraphrased that. You said that to some aspect. And let me tell you, that is so powerful, because once you've heard that, the first thing that I said is, man, I want to help that person, because that person has just put it out there and it's like, she's going to be successful. So I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate you for helping me in my presentation that you didn't know you were going to do. Okay, that being said, Michelle, can you share the screen or give me sharing screen capabilities? And I'm going to go through this. I have it. Okay, so let's see here. Let's see. Oh, here we go, sharing screen. And we're going to, there we go, right here. Okay, then we're going to start from the beginning. Everybody see this? Awesome, awesome. So this is the same slide that I've been using in my group, and you see the background there. It says Dad Talks, and that's one of the talks that we had, and we talked about this. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's been around. I'm a certified facilitator. It's been around for decades. Stephen Covey, God rest his soul, came up with this program years ago, and I had the opportunity of going to Utah, and I got trained, and I used it years ago, started my consulting business, kind of forgot about it, and have been using it since I've been facilitating this program. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to briefly go through the presentation as I would my group. I always start off by telling people that the beautiful thing about life is that it always offers you a second chance. No matter what you go through today, whatever the failures are, I don't care where you are today, you'll get a second chance, and that's called tomorrow. And I think it's just kind of important that we remind ourselves of that, because sometimes we get really down and we forget that, man, no matter how much you messed up, you'll get another opportunity if you're just patient. There's 7 habits, and I think it's just easy to just tell you what the habits are and give you an example for each habit because of time. This is a presentation that's 2 days, and so what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you in probably 20 minutes what we go over in 2 days. So it's just a snippet, and hopefully it's something that gets you interested. You can always buy the book. I'm not plugging it, but you can buy the book. It's out there. You can purchase it, but I'm going to give you a brief snippet. Being proactive, habit number 1. Being proactive is probably one of the most important habits, if you ask me, because being proactivity is the power and the freedom and ability to choose your response. If you choose your response to whatever happens in your life, it makes a world of difference. If I decide today that I'm going to go to college next week or next month, no one can take that away from you, as opposed to reacting. You have an option. Being proactive, it's always a lot more effective than being reactive, because once you're being proactive, you are taking control of your life. Now, mind you, as I go through this, these are the things that I'm telling these fathers. And as we go through this, I give them examples on each of these habits, and then I have them ask themselves to give us examples of a time when they were proactive as opposed to being reactive. And I ask you as we go through this, think about the times in your life when you took a proactive stance and what difference that made in the success of whatever it was you were trying to accomplish. You can't talk yourself out of something that you talk your way into. This is extremely, extremely important as a father. Actually, it's extremely important in all our lives, but as a father, I tell fathers that if you say you're going to do it, especially as it applies to children, you got to do it. It's kind of like, it's no different than the people that we work with. Think about someone in your life. And I'm challenging you to do this right now, and think about someone in your life who often tells you they're going to do something. And when they say they're going to do it, just the minute they've said it, it's a 50-50 chance that they'll do it or not based on things they've done in the past. So John says to you, hey, man, I'm picking you up at 2 o'clock. And you say to yourself automatically, John ain't never been on time at 2 o'clock in his life. So that means 2:30 if he shows up at all. So your word is your bond. And the example that I use with this one is children. You know, when you got a kid, you drop your kid off in the morning at school and you tell them that you're going to get ice cream when you pick them up from school that afternoon. Well, doggone it, you better take that child to get ice cream at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whenever you pick them up, because that's what's kept them going throughout the day. Now, granted, you know, as an adult, there's a lot of things that we deal with throughout the day. And by 5 o'clock, you may not even have remembered that, but you've got to make a note, because if you say it, you need to do it. Because they may not tell you that you failed them, but once again, remember, you cannot talk your way out of something that you behaved your way into. Habit 2, begin with the end in mind. Whatever it is that you start, you have to, without a doubt, think of the end product. Before you get started, where do you want this to go? Where do you see yourself happen? All things are created twice, first mentally and then physically. Courtenay did it subconsciously today. She talked about where she sees her vice presidency going by saying, hey, I may make mistakes, but I need help, I need grace. That is beginning with the help, with the end in mind, knowing that, hey, I want to be successful, but in order for me to do so, I have to reach out and connect with people. That one is huge. And here's the kicker. Every organization that you've ever belonged to has what's called a mission statement. It's got a mission and a goal. If you go to the library, Michelle, I'm putting you on the spot. Where's the mission statement of the library? Where is it located?
On the front page.
On the front page of what?
Of the website.
The website. So it's right there on the website. And so, do you know it offhand? And I hope I'm not putting you on the spot here, okay? But you don't know it offhand, but you could probably paraphrase it, could you not?
Yes, I can find it.
There you go. I mean, and so if she doesn't know it of heart, she knows where to find it. Now, here's the kicker. Now, here's where I'm going to put everybody on the spot. Who can unmute quickly and tell me what the mission statement is for their life? Oh, excuse me? You mean we're supposed to have a mission statement for our life? Why not? If you've got one for the organization that you work for, and you go to that organization 40 to 60 hours a week, and you've got to have a mission statement for them, why don't you have a mission statement for your life? Well, what do you mean, David? Well, what do you mean? What do I mean? Where do you see yourself? What did you plan on accomplishing in 2022? And then if I'm going to ask that question, the next follow-up question is, well, did you accomplish it? Well, how do you know if you didn't have it, if it wasn't a mission statement? My son, before this presentation just came in, my son we'll talk about him a little bit, because it's kind of hard not to talk about him, because I believe it's the next slide as we go into it. He came into my office a few minutes ago. He just got back home from school 2 weeks ago for Thanksgiving. Then he didn't go back because he's only got one class, but he's in college, plays baseball. And he came in today and he gave me a sheet. Well, he sent me an email and he just got a 4.0. 4.0 this semester. Now, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. But let me tell you what's more phenomenal of him getting a 4.0. What's more phenomenal of him getting a 4.0 is what he got the spring semester while he was at Toledo. And he sat on the bench at Toledo and ultimately transferred from the University of Toledo to Jackson State University, where he's currently playing. He got his worst GPA in college, probably the worst GPA he's ever had in school last semester at Toledo. I think he had like a 2.3. Yeah, it was a 2.34. And 2.34 is not the end of the world, but based on a kid who's always gotten a 3.5 or 3.6, it was a drastic difference. And here's the difference here. We had to regroup. He had to leave the University of Toledo. Well, they took his scholarship, and because nothing that he did, that's just how it is in sports. He had to regroup, get another scholarship, perform at a high degree over the summer to get another scholarship, and then put his entire life as a 21-year-old back on track. And when he came into my office today and showed me that 4.0, I almost cried. I'm getting a little teary-eyed, and it's not because of the 4.0, folks. It's because this stuff works. If you put your life on purpose, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have issues. It's just going to mean that when you get those issues, you have to learn how to challenge yourself and regroup. So this is why I do what I do. When I talk about personal mission statement, he was the reason why I put so much into being a good father. And then, to whom much is given, much is required. Because I did a job, such a decent job, I'm not going to say great, but such a decent job with this kid, I challenged myself. Could I teach other people to do the same thing? Why can't you? In order to raise positive kids, all we have to do is, first of all, have a commitment and put into them. You will get out of them what you put in. Now, does it mean they're perfect? Not, of course, nobody's perfect. Does it mean they won't make mistakes? Of course not. We all make mistakes, but you get the gist. And this is what I tell fathers. So regardless of their circumstances, this might sound a little blunt, but this is who I am. I don't care what your issues are, build a bridge and get over it. It's just that simple, because everybody goes through changes. And we cannot lead others at any level of effectiveness than what we are currently leading ourselves. So as a father, as a mother, if you have, like, I've got people that have substance abuse, and I'm not insensitive or unempathetic to those issues, but I'm just honest. If you want to lead your child to a productive life that's free of that particular issue, then you got to address that issue. Not preaching, just you got to address it. That's it. Put first things first. This is the habit. This habit right here absolutely is extremely. I'm not going to say this is any more important than any of the rest of them, but I think this one is important in that if we gain control of our time and our events by seeing how they relate to our mission. What did I do today? If I wanted to lose weight, for instance, what did I do today to bring me one step closer to that goal? If I want to save for a house, what did I do in the month of October to bring me one step closer to that goal? Putting first things first. I'm not going to tell anybody how to live their life or what to do, but the habit of understanding that your time is of essence gives you an ability to appreciate and understand that time and put that time in a time bank that makes sense. Guess what we all have in common? We all have 24 hours every day. Every single day. The question is, what did you do with your 24 hours? Well, heck, if you slept 10 of those 24 hours, now you only got 14 hours. Now, you can sleep 10 hours of the day if you want to, but you better doggone sure be effective that you're using the other 14 for something positive. And when I say something positive, it's not what I think is positive, it's what you've determined to be positive. Habit 4, win-win. This is a habit that we as fathers, we don't get it. We as a society, we forget it. Look, in order, and Courtenay, I know you didn't expect me to use you shamelessly, but I'm gonna use you shamelessly. Michelle just got announced as the president of this fine organization. Then the next thing she did, she delegated, she found someone with talent and someone that she identified as one with leadership abilities and qualities, and she named that person. And what did she do as she was naming her? She spoke, she gave her platitudes, she complimented her. And so before Courtenay said a word, we already had an expectation of competence. And then, of course, she followed that up. We call that a win-win. Understanding that in order for Michelle to be successful, Courtenay has to be successful. In order for David to be successful, Dorothy has to be successful, Jeff has to be successful, therefore, so forth and so on. You cannot win if you do not have a selfless mind. And here's the thing about win-win. In order to develop a win-win situation, you cannot let unexpressed feelings go by. Because unexpressed feelings don't die. They're buried alive and they come forth later in uglier ways. You got to have those tough conversations, whatever those tough conversations are. You got to have them with the people in your personal life and the people in your professional life. So that's think win-win. And basically what I'm doing here, I'm going over a quick synopsis. If we had more time, of course, we would go into more time. We would use that time. We'd have discussion. So I'm just going to apologize if it seems like I'm going through this, because I want to go through and touch on every habit. The win-win philosophy is not just a little technique or some nice phrase. A win-win person has an abundance mentality, meaning that his or her paradigm of life is that there is plenty out there for everyone and to spare. You have to understand that I don't have to have it all in order for me to be successful. Man, if we've got $1, I don't have to have 90 cents of that dollar to be successful. If I can give Jeff 50 cents and I'll take 50 cents and we can come together and make that dollar $1.50, guess what? We've won. And I think we forget that, especially in the world that we live in now, politics and so forth, we forget how important that is. Yes. Habit number 5. This one took me a while to wrap my head around this one. It really did. This is a challenging one. And just for me personally, I can't speak for others. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. My mother taught me this years ago, and I don't know that she knew she was teaching it to me when she said this, but she did. And maybe my mother's like a lot of other mothers, and maybe you've heard this before. Son, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. I see Jeff looking. Jeff and I are brothers. We've got the same mother. God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. So maybe you ought to listen twice as much as you speak. Oh, that's so powerful. That is so powerful, because we always want to be heard without taking the time to hear others. And being a parent, show of hands, who can relate to that as a parent? listening to their kids. And this starts from the time that child comes out the womb, or should I say the time they start talking. What do kids always want to do? Mommy, daddy, and they've got 1,000,001 things to do. And they learn really quickly that how we relate to them and how we listen to them have a lot to do with how we respect them and how we think of them. Same thing with spouses. How many spouses have we heard, he doesn't listen to me, she doesn't listen to me, or a boss or a coworker that never listens to you? And how does that make you feel? So I think I've got to go too much more on that one. I think that one speaks to itself. Then if you understand that one, if you understand seeking first to understand and to be understood, then you understand synergy. Synergy is where is we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we are. That's just who we are. Synergy is the process that reveals the third alternative, and that is value the difference. Value in the difference. We live in a country right now where, man, if you're a D or an R, man, we can't see eye to eye. That is insane. Dude, that is insane. We've got to, it doesn't say you have to embrace and love the differences. It just says you got to value it. We've got to work with other people to accomplish our goals. It's just that serious. Michelle can't run this organization by herself. I don't care how good she is. Courtney, she could be God's gift to the world. She cannot run this committee. She cannot run her business. She cannot run her household unless she understands the concept of synergy. You've got to work together to come up with solutions. And this is what I attempt to do in my father's group. I'm a facilitator. Sometimes a guy asks a question and he directly asks me, well, what do I do? Like, you tell me, I don't know what you do. I mean, you know, let's talk about it. Because I'm not there to tell you what to do. I'm just there to create synergy. And I've heard some things that I've just had to keep a stoic face because I'm like, dude, you wonder why you got the issues that you have? Well, I call it that stinking thinking. So sometimes we got to get a checkup from the neck up. Habit 7, sharpen the saw, sharpen the saw. This habit is why I believe that my success in life has been such. I have always tried to associate with people who are going to hold me accountable, And because of that, I don't take myself too seriously. My issues are my issues, and I own them. They are what they are. I own them, and I try to work on them daily. And, you know, I've got friends who probably wouldn't be friends to other people because they tell you exactly like it is. And most of us say that we want to grow by understanding who we really are. But sometimes when we find out who we really are, we just don't like that person. And that's okay, because once you found out who you are, you can then take a proactive stance and change yourself if you so choose. And so sharpening the saw, the idea behind sharpening the saw is to take small positive steps every single day. Small positive steps every single day. Now, I'm bringing this to an end, but before I do so, because I'm looking at my timer, and my timer says 19:53, and Michelle said I had 20 minutes. But I'm going to turn the timer off right here because I'm almost done. But I'm going to turn the timer off.
You're fine.
Okay. But I still like to respect time. I'm going to